In February 2023, 18 NGO advocates and community leaders from Guinea's bauxite, iron ore, and gold mining regions traveled to South Africa to learn about the country's long legacy of environmental justice activism and community organizing. The visit was hosted by GroundWork, a South African environmental justice organization in collaboration with its local partners.
My name is Samson Mukwena. I work here at Vaal Environmental Justice Alliance. The organization was established in 2004 to respond to the challenges of pollution in this region. The air that we are breathing is not healthy for human beings. And we've been in struggle to make sure that the air that we breathe in the region, it comply with the South African legislation. There is good laws that we fought hard for those laws to be there, but we see the failure of government to implement and make sure that the air pollution in this region is in compliance.
A common message resonated throughout the visit, that despite over 100 years of industrial mining in South Africa, ordinary people have seen few development benefits.
South Africa is more than 400 years of mining. Think when we discover diamonds, we discover gold, we discover coal. Mining in this country has never, and will never benefit the majority. They've only benefited the few, the rich and the elite. But the majority, which are black and African in particular, have never benefited on these natural resources that we have.
The model has failed to address human development. It means as much as people were promised jobs, not enough people received jobs, but more people were negatively impacted in terms of how many people got sick, how many people have access to basic medical health care.
You have the richest of the rich and you have the poorest of the poor. 55% of South Africa lives in poverty. 25% of South Africans don't go to bed with food every night. That's an indictment on our democracy. So you see these beautiful buildings we sit around, these beautiful suburbs you drive around, and just next door, you have people without running water. You have people without sanitation, living next to the people with tennis courts on their property. That's not what we want for Africa.
Community members in South Africa spoke about air and water pollution and many environmental injustices from mining.
See, the wind is blowing this direction. So black townships are on the other side, will pass there. So the entire pollution can affect the black townships. When you see where the white neighborhoods are, I think in America they call environmental racism. Because all the white suburbs are on the side of the factory, but the black townships are on the other side. So meaning that the pollution is hitting continuously black neighborhoods.
You have people drinking contaminated water because of these mines, and the mine is not willing to help the community with anything. They are not really bringing any change towards the community. They are not giving back to the community.
At the site, tar leaks into the water table from a nearby iron smelting facility. These barrels tried to collect tar, but years of pollution have contaminated the groundwater, meaning it can no longer be used for agricultural irrigation.
I think millions of barrels of these things sitting across the water table. You see these farms here. He's farming, but he's not using irrigation system because the water is contaminated. Even the soil is contaminated. The problem is that when they were disposing this tar inside the factory, they didn't put it in proper dams. It was just dumped, which was an illegal act. South African government has never prosecuted this company for this environmental criminal that is happening here. So that's a campaign that we are currently pushing to get access to these records of where these things getting dumped, to inform other communities further down to say, this is the impact, and they know about the impact, is to make sure that the impact is not moving further down to impact other families.
Community members gave countless examples of the divide and conquer tactics often used by mining companies. They spoke about broken promises of jobs and development projects.
The levels of poverty in our communities are very high. People want to wake up and do something. They want to wake up and go to work. But we understand that the mining industry itself cannot employ everyone. But it's because of the availability of opportunities and how they choose and pick to give the opportunities that sets the people into a conflict. So that's divide and conquer. And for them, their benefit is that they continue to mine peacefully without being disturbed, because the people themselves are conflicting amongst each other.
When the mine comes, they come and do consultations, and then they promise people that they will give them jobs. And then there's no such thing, because of most of the time when they come with people who are coming from outside.
These companies will come to a community and make promises, but those promises will never be fulfilled. They bought tractors and firefighters sent to municipality, they are all broken.
They always avoided to give us a documented agreement of which will be proved tomorrow, that when we go to them and say, you promised us this and that, but then they didn't want to have anything that is written down. It was always a verbal agreement, which has led to the disappointment that we have encountered so far.
They are here to steal the land. They have no land here. They are just here to mine and leave the place just like that.
The biggest challenge that we are having is from the authorities, because they are not willing to help and engage. And another issue is to enforce the laws.
The communities can...
Local communities spoke about violence and the challenges of obtaining justice for the many harms caused.
I'm very worried about what is happening in our communities, because the people are dying in the mining premises, but no one knows who killed that person. But in the mining industries, there are many cameras. The cameras don't see who killed who. But if you steal a tin of paint, they will follow you until to your house. They will know you that you steal a paint. Why they don't know who killed the person in the mines?
As an activist, we are going to face with all those complexities of people, some people not agreeing with you, but also not having the guts to engage, but are prepared to physically harm you. And we know the police system, though it's there, sometimes they harbor such people, because such people are being handled by those who have money, those who benefit from contracts in the mining industry, which impacts on us and our parents, who lives in the area.
This is the site of the Marikana massacre, where in 2012, police killed 34 mine laborers who were on a 6-week strike.
In 2012, August, the workers started to go on strike here, wanting an increase into their salaries. They could not reach an agreement with the mine. At the same time, the people who were in control of the mines were starting to talk to the police, and the higher people in power, political power, starting to recharacterize the strike. And they perceive it as some criminal action. So the police went on an operation, and on the 16th, they went on an action where they shot a lot more workers. and 34 of them died. Same. And the whole area was like a war zone. There was a commission thereafter, commission of inquiry, that found that the police used an excessive force on the workers. They were highly armed and they used that force. No police has ever been charged. Some of the workers who were part of this were charged.
Local communities in South Africa shared how they own and lead their struggles.
L'organisation de la communauté à la base, la différence entre l'Afrique du Sud et la Guinée, c'est que les communautés en Afrique du Sud s'organisent à la base. Donc c'est eux-mêmes qui font leurs activités avant que la société civile n'intervienne. Alors qu'en Guinée, réellement c'est la société civile qui vient trouver les communautés afin de faire les activités. Donc il y a cette différence.
Sometimes it needs you as a person who stays in that community to call your community, sit down with the community and tell them, explain these big terms that they hear, your SLPs, your DMR, your acts and adoption. You have to sit down so that it's a community thing, so that even if they come in back doors, the community stands firm and say, we are fighting for our rights.
This is Promise, who leads Vukani Environmental Movement, a community-based organization fighting coal. She is demanding clean air in a province with the most polluting cluster of coal-fired power stations in the world.
When we find that people are sick, there were a lot of questions when we get back to sit down and discuss the outcomes that we came with in our door-to-door campaign. So that's when we decided to say, no, this is a serious problem. We can't look into our children dying because of air pollution and the production around the area. Let us stand up and make sure that we fight for this. It's our right to do so. We became enemies to them because we were, even in the space of our community people, they are calling us names to say we are anti-developers. We don't want the development that comes with mining or whatsoever, the government, because they are getting money from the mining industries so that we can have whatever that we want, but that is not true.
Est-ce que ça a été l'une des raisons qui t'ont poussé à être championne de ce mouvement?
The reason why I've joined to be a champion because of in our area, people, they are sick, but they don't know what's the cause. I want to teach other people because in our area, they are not aware what's the cause of the asthma. So our area is very dirty and many people, they are sick. I have to go and explain for the teacher that, no, don't be surprised when my child is absent for weeks or months because she's sick. What was that? It was blasting. Yes.
In this type of organizing, where people organize themselves to demand change, it is very powerful because, one, people are becoming conscious of their own environment. Two, people begin to understand what democracy means. And people demand to see changes and they want to be properly consulted. And to me, that's very important because if you organize yourself in that fashion, then the authorities need to recognize that they cannot take decisions without the engagement of community people.
If we are dependent on one person, this is where industries start to divide us because they just take that one person away and there's nothing we can do. So when we build our movements, let us think about how we leverage our efforts. If one person is compromised, you still have 99 people to carry the struggle. But if information and the capacity sits with one person, if they bribe that one person, the whole organization is dead. So that's why I like the code. Because if one goes, we're still left with 99% effort. And the struggle will continue.
Je pense que ça, c'est quelque chose qui m'a beaucoup marqué. Et le fait que les communautés comprennent que c'est leur combat à elles. Malgré tout ce qu'une ONG peut faire, qu'elle soit internationale, nationale, mais c'est qu'elle mette à l'esprit que c'est notre combat et c'est à nous communautés, de le mener. Ça, c'est quelque chose qui m'a marqué.
Local communities in South Africa have been successfully using citizen-led environmental monitoring techniques, such as community bucket monitoring, to document and prove harms.
So she's going to be presenting something on the bucket monitoring system.
The bucket is a low-cost, easy-to-use air sampling methodology to measure toxic chemicals in the air, such as benzene and hydrogen sulfide.
C'est la mise en évidence donc, des impacts donc, causés par les entreprises en utilisant bien sûr la technologie. Je crois que c'est quelque chose qui a beaucoup attiré mon attention. Il ne s'agit pas de clamer qu'on est victime de tel ou de tel sans preuve palpable. Donc cette communauté a utilisé ces évidences donc, pour montrer à qui de droit ce dont ils sont impactés, ce dont ils sont victimes dans leur situation.
L'établissement des évidences, que les communautés participent elles-mêmes à essayer de trouver les évidences et à mettre ça, à opposer ça devant l'entreprise, mais pas ailleurs, mais surtout au niveau national.
Communities in South Africa are calling for a just transition, away from a top-down extractive economy and towards a regenerative economy that is based on values of inclusivity and equity.
There is this myth that South Africa is a developing country with huge resources. Those resources are not trickling down. You know, we have this economy that is a top-down economy that is not benefiting ordinary people anywhere in the world. So it's up to us as activists and communities to organize. As communities, we need to say to our people, especially young people, that there is alternative. And the question is, how do we build that alternative as organizations?
We've recruited the youth because we want them to be in this just transition space and to create more awareness in our community with regards to climate change. We feel that if we teach the youth, it's going to be more fruitful than teaching an older person, because if you tell an older person, they go home with the information. But if you teach a kid, the kid goes home, teaches their mom, their friends. So it's more productive that way than teaching older people only.
What we want for Africa is development that will give everybody a decent life. We want development that's regenerative in terms of rebuilding our society, our economy, and importantly, our ecology. Because if we don't have that, we're not going to be able to survive. And for groundwork, it's important to recognize that our principle, our vision, is that people are living well with each other and the earth. And you can only live well with each other if you live in solidarity with each other.
We are advocating for change, but we say it needs to be fair, it needs to be inclusive. People need to be informed, people need to be engaged. But part of that also speaks to how we reshape our economic system, especially in terms of ownership, how we grow our food, how do we generate the energy that we want to consume as people rather than as industry.
These two sides showcase examples of a just transition for a regenerative economy, a community-owned solar energy station, and a community garden that provides jobs and employment training, as well as healthy and affordable food for surrounding communities.
This is our project. It used to be a camping site at this place. So we took an initiative with the community to develop this place into what it is today. So we've made a park for the community to come and rest and do their things here, and then food gardening at the side. We are trying to create a job for the unemployed and take out youth from the street to come and help us here so that it can be productive and create more jobs for our youth instead of waiting for the government to do something for us.
If we have a farmer, you can work for yourself and put it the food. Because if we have a farmer, we can't plant the food because there's no work in this South Africa. Now you have supposed yourself to farm yourself, to plant it in your chariot, to have food in your chariot. Because in empty space, we can make it a small garden and make it food.
We face challenges, but we are still busy negotiating with our municipality so that they can come and help us, because we are using our hands to develop the place and planting vegetables and then selling it to the street vendors with less to what they get at the market. So we are working together with VEJA to fight the climate problem that we are facing in our country. Because truly speaking, it is affecting what we are doing now.
We have to have practical examples when we are speaking of a just transition or a just energy transition, so that we can always refer communities to say, this is what the energy that we want will look like. So our office is running under that energy of solar. So it becomes easy and understanding with the communities to say, this is good and this is clean, and I can monitor the energy on my own. And yeah, it becomes a practical example of what we want as communities.
Notre voyage en Afrique du Sud a été une école pour nous. Nous avons appris beaucoup de choses, mais entre autres, ce qui a beaucoup attiré mon attention, c'est l'organisation à la base communautaire. Donc nous avons trouvé que quel que soit le niveau du village, il y a une structure, il y a une organisation à base communautaire qui essaye à sa façon, à sa capacité de défendre leurs intérêts vis-à-vis des industries, les entreprises minières qui se sont installées.
Throughout the trip, and as the visit came to a close, participants were encouraged to share with one another and the hosts what they learned in South Africa.
Sachez que ces entreprises minières cherchent le maximum de profits et de capitaux pour exporter chez eux. Ce qu'il vous reste en tant que communauté, c'est de voir comment lutter pour que votre environnement soit sain. Lutter contre la pollution de l'air et lutter contre la pollution de l'eau. Je crois que cela m'a interpellé beaucoup, et savoir que dorénavant, tout ce qu'on doit pouvoir faire, ça doit pouvoir être au sein des communautés et trouver des solutions pour que ces communautés soient en train de faire porter leur voix.
En réalité, c'est à vous d'abord de vous organiser entre vous. Vous créez un leadership communautaire. C'est suite à ça que nous, en tant qu'organisation, étant dans notre objectif vraiment d'appuyer la communauté, de la défendre, qu'on peut venir au secours.
Ça ne se fait pas du jour au lendemain. Parce qu'il y a déjà quelques barrières sociales mises en place qu'il faut casser petit à petit pour que le citoyen sache que la gouvernance politique, c'est lui qui fait la gouvernance politique.
So we must always remind ourselves that the system that we are fighting for, they're fighting against, it's an exploitative system. It's there to exploit the Africans. Because the system is to extract and put things out of the country and benefit the West. So we must resist these things and say, let's keep coal in the soil, let's keep oil in the hole. For the benefit of our generation, we have to rethink about the development as Africans. What kind of a development we want?